I don't think it's gonna take much effort for anybody to know that Dehya herself is already bad, but that's not the topic of this video, though it is important. Let's talk about waifu over meta. As it stands right now, one of the most common things you hear is the value a unit can bring to your account or the overall value. For instance, right now, Yolanda is a more valuable summon than Yaimiko. However, we also have units and individuals who prefer other characters to other, maybe stronger units. You might prefer Yoimiya in comparison to a Hu Tao. And whether or not Hu Tao is stronger, at that stage, most people would default to waifu over meta. Get who you prefer over who's strong. And that's fine, to a degree. However, what you do run into is situations where a unit is so significantly weaker than another that it's hard to justify it with just waifu over meta. I use both Yoimiya and Hu Tao, and I have a variety of other units here. For instance, I don't like Ayaka. I have my Ganyu. I adore my Ganyu. I like Yaimiko. I like Raiden Shogun. I like Xiao, even though I know he's not objectively a very strong DPS, especially not in comparison to these two. But in that same respect, you have characters who slowly, as we go down, get more and more niche. For instance, Albedo. He's a Geo support whose only real good teams is with either Xiao or Mono Geo. And that kind of sucks because Albedo used to be really good for Hu Tao with double Geo and Xingqiu, but now with double Hydro, it's kind of replaced. So he's in his weird spot where he's not exactly a super valuable unit for a lot of accounts, but he still is a good looking character. He still has some unique design standpoints, so if you want to summon for him, go right ahead. But then we get to Dehya, not Sino. Dehya, well actually Sino too. And what you're running into is this brick wall of people wanting Dehya, but also understanding that she is definitely not a good character for their account. As it stands right now, the best thing about these banners is the Bennett and the fact that you can save. And that's an issue, because I don't like the idea or topic, or even the concept that a character's entire strength can be dismissed because of the argument of waifu versus meta. Regardless of which game you play, I believe that every character should be viable. I understand that if we're talking about Genshin Impact in this case, Dehya, who else are we talking about? Let's say Keqing, Jean, Mona, Diluc, all the standard banner units, Tignari, all of them are excused because they are standard banner units. Theoretically, they can be bad. However, let's be honest here. The standard banner units weren't bad when the game came out. When they were first made, they were not bad. Diluc was a top tier DPS. Chi-Chi healed you and can still heal you pretty strongly to this day. Jean is still a really good character. Keqing got buffed with Dendro. Mona is great for boosting your team's damage. If we're looking at other characters, Tignari is actually pretty good, and he has a nice design. Dehya is the outlier in all this. Her being in standard banner did not make her bad. In the same vein that her being bad isn't an excuse because she's a good looking character. Let's be honest here, Kuki Shinobu would still be bad if Dendro wasn't good with Electro. If she didn't have an avid way to support the team in the same way that Yaimiko does, but Yaimiko at least has damage. So we're at an impasse where I understand a lot of people aren't defending Dehya, and that's good. I do think she's a bad character. I do think she needs to be reworked. Whether you like her design or not, you can't, objectively speaking, ignore the fact that her main competition in the standard banner alone, Diluc, is better than she is. That's an issue. And she's comparable to Xinyan. Oh, great. You guys know the last time you heard Xinyan being good? That's right. You don't. It never happened. Xinyan was never good in the slightest. And it's not an issue of wanting Dehya to be good. It's not an issue of wanting someone to look good, because let's be honest, there are a couple designs I don't like. A couple characters I don't like, but I still believe that every character should be viable. There is no reason Dory should be Dory. There is no reason Xinyan should be like the way she is even now. I think every character should have their strengths, and as of right now, we don't have a lot of characters with those same benefits. And as we get into the 5-star roster, you have characters that are just low value. Outside of Mono Geo, Itto is a very low valuable summon because he's restricted to one specific type of team. But even then, he has more flexibility than Nilo. I mentioned this previously in my 5-star decline video. If you haven't watched this now, go watch it now, I guess. But I do believe that we've seen a decline in either the various team compositions available to 5-star units or their overall viability. And as of right now, Dehya is shaping up to be the worst 5-star unit. And we cannot attribute that to the same vein as Chi-Chi, in which Chi-Chi was released when the game first began. Therefore, the game didn't have complex kits. In the first era of the game, the most complex thing you had was either Mona's damage buff or Vape. Now, after that, you got Child with his Riptide and his different stances. Forwarding that onwards, you got someone like Kazuha. And maybe you consider Raiden's Elemental Burst with her energy restoration a good thing, and a more complex element of that. or Shenhe's stack mechanics. You had different complexities to each character's kit. Nilo buffing an entire elemental reaction, and Nahida adding elemental mastery and assisting in that off field. Dehya isn't a complex character, she's just a bad character. And the complexity doesn't equal good or bad in either way in this instance. Because Dehya could have been a 5-star Zhengling. And I think a lot of people were initially expecting before the leaks came out, Dehya could have and should have been a 5-star Zhengling. If we got Yelan as, the 5th variation of Xingqiu, Dehya should have been 5-star Zhengling and she should have been limited. And that would have been fine for a lot of people. Even if her burst or elemental skill was similar to Albedo's, that would be fine. Because Albedo at least helps you off field. Dehya doesn't provide enough utility to justify kicking off somebody like a Zhongli, kicking off a Zhengling, kicking off any form of support, because she doesn't just provide you with the defensive utility they do. She doesn't provide you with the healing of a Bennett. She doesn't provide you with the shielding and protection of a Zhongli. She provides you with mild protection, but that mild protection is dampened by the fact that she takes the damage instead, so you still need a healer, which is why you have Barbara on the current banner. Barbara and Banner, actually. So it's a thing. Don't get me wrong. I understand people are going to say, well, yeah, she works really good in one specific team, and she might work well-ish, but then considering the other units who can work well. Now, excluding this, let's be blunt here. If Dehya releases and gets a better artifact set, let's say a month or two down the line, we're back to square one of the issue, and that is, do not sell a character when the solution is going to be released much later on. Do not sell a character that is, objectively speaking, bad on release, only to sell us a solution or give us a solution 6 months down the line. That's unfair. And she's standard banner. If they give her an artifact set, they cannot give her an artifact set that will be used by anyone else who is good in the future, which is an issue. Now, I have a lot of characters I like. I think a lot of characters here in the game are cute. I like Holly. She's adorable. Ryan's my favorite character, alongside Zhongli. I happen to have a lot of strong characters, but I do understand that people want their favorite units to be strong. If you like Shenhe, you want it to be good. If you like Ayato, you want him to be good. If you like Nilo, you want her to be great. Same thing for Sino and so on. Candice was also the similar example. I don't think it's fair to ever have a unit be excused because they're hot, instead of having them just be good in general. I also don't think it's fair to make an ugly character and then make them strong. But we don't have that because a lot of these characters appeal to a vast majority of people. So in that same vein, it's like, well, if you're looking at this, and let's say you're comparing all the Pyro characters right now. Let's say you're sorting this out and you're just going by Pyro. Maybe you ever think for all the Pyro characters. You have options, but there's no consistency between the 5 stars and the 4 stars. You have the highs of Hu Tao, the middles of Yoimiya, the lows of Diluc and Klee, and now the very lows of Dehya and Jinyan. There's no baseline value, and if the baseline value is going to be somebody, it should be Diluc at the very least, because he's a standard banner 5-star. Dehya should have been on par with Diluc if she's meant to be a DPS. But if you're looking at Claymore units, her competition changes a little bit. You have mono Geo teams in Ito. You have the explosive burst of Eula, and you still have Diluc. Where is Dehya's baseline? Where is she meant to fit? Where is she meant to slide into next to another 5-star unit or next to another character and make sense? It isn't just about having a strong character. It isn't just about having a good character. It isn't just about having a hot character that you sent for. It's about the concept of a character that should not be bad, and that the horrible or worst aspects of the kid should not be excused because they're good looking, or because you hope they'll get buffed later on, or because the game is easy. If the game is easy, then take a Jinyan into this Battle Abyss and clear it with that. If the game is easy, take any other unit, but also don't discount the fact that you still have Primo Gems you save up for the units you enjoy. If you like Sino, you saved up. If you like Sino, you spent money. If you like Sino, you got him. And Sino costs the same as Dehya in this instance. So Dehya should be equivalent to Sino. Or she at least should be as good or as valuable as him. And she's not, and that's the issue. Waifu meta falls apart when you consider that every unit has a similar cost, so they all should have a similar baseline. You don't go to the store and say, yeah, this product is pretty bad, it's pretty awful, like this new phone, it's pretty bad, but it looks good, and then drop $1,000. You expect the phone to be good. You expect it to perform on par with the others, otherwise where is the money going for? If I were to spend and go, let's say I go hypothetically to 180 pulls for this unit. Those 180 pulls could have gotten me legitimately any other unit. I could have went to the standard banner and gotten two different items Let's say hypothetically one was one of these. Both of these are more valuable than Dehya is to my accounts. And that's a problem. So I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think of Waifu over meta? What do you honestly believe is better going forward? Do you think designs trump out the damage a unit does, or do you think it's a mixture of both? I want to hear your thoughts. Consider subscribing. Either way, check out the other video regarding 5% decline and 4-star mediocrity, and I'll see you next time.